Hello, today is July 16th, 2009. We're meeting today with Shirley Melvin at her home in Fort Collins, Colorado. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Northern Colorado Veterans History Project. Welcome, Shirley, and thanks for participating today.
My pleasure.
Let's start out, if we could. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you were born, a little bit about your family.
I was born on May 9th, 1922, in 104 Vanderbilt Street, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, New York?
Brooklyn, New York. It's the area that's pictured as a backdrop for Moonstruck.
Okay.
And I don't know. You want to stop that a minute? I don't know.
Okay.
Where did I do that?
You're talking about the moon, the backdrop, and
That area was the backdrop for a Moonstruck, and when I was 2 years old, when my sister became sweet on this Italian fella, so my mother and father decided to move.
now what nationality is your family?
I am English, Irish, Holland, Dutch, and German. My maternal grandfather was born in Hanover, Germany, and was brought over here as a child. And my mother's mother was born, I believe, in Manhattan, of Irish parents. I don't think they came from Ireland, but I think their parents did.
But your parents didn't like the idea of your sister dating an Italian guy. Is the reason you moved?
They decided to move because of that.
Okay.
So they found this little house. I loved it when I was growing up, in Ozone Park, Queens. And as fate would have it, they didn't have to move because there was a young Italian fellow across the street that my sister became
In Queens?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you can't run away from things. And so my mother didn't go to the wedding. She was very, Mama was very strict. And she wouldn't go to the wedding, and she wouldn't let any of us go to the wedding. So that was that. That's why we were living there. And I was raised in that area. I attended Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary Elementary School, and when I was graduating, I was awarded, the diocese sent two of the highest in the class, of boys and girls both, to Bishop McDonald Memorial High School in Brooklyn, which all it cost my parents was $5 a term for books, plus the fare, the nickel fare back and forth. And when I look back on it, if you asked a kid to do that today. So when I graduated from Bishop's, I was awarded the commercial prize. In those days, in the parochial schools, high schools, you were expected to I feel so conscious. You were expected to excel in the what do they call it? non-commercial. You know, I had steno typing,
Oh, okay.
all that
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Like secretarial
And
type of?
I got the award for that. Um, Gee, there's so many little innuendos here. It's hard to. Um, I could read it off that sheet. That how do you delete this stuff that we're talking?
I don't delete anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you just want to know about me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I went to high school at Bishop's, and then I asked a man on the next block. I used to pal with his daughter Betty, and he worked in a bank in Manhattan, Chase National. And I asked him, jobs were not easy to get at that time. I asked Mr. Smith if I could use him as a reference. And he said, you can, but you won't get the job. And I said, why not? He said, they don't hire Catholics.
Wow.
So I went and tried anyway, and they didn't take me. So I started working for Prudential Insurance in Long Island City, which was not as far as Manhattan. And they had strange rules then too. They didn't hire married women. At that time, it was depression, really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they felt that they didn't want women taking men's jobs. So the weird part of it is, one of the girls we worked with at Prudential, her boyfriend had a little too much to drink, and her mother insisted that he sleep on the sofa in the living room. And the next day, a neighbor of theirs called the boss at Prudential and said she must have gotten married because he stayed overnight. So, believe it or not, they put what they call a tail on her for 2 weeks.
Wow.
To see if she, you know, that's how bad things were.
Wow.
To see if she had gotten married. Jobs were very scarce. They were, it was, you might as well say it was the Depression.
Yeah, right.
Roosevelt and Hoover. And
Well, things and things became even, sounds like even more restrictive for you. One, being a woman, very few opportunities, and Catholic, it was another restriction, it looks like. So
yeah. So the irony of it is, when I came out of the service, just for the heck of it, I went over to Chase National and they hired me right away. So anyway, the war changed so many things.
Right, and we'll talk about that.
And when I had met Bill, my husband, at a dance given by the Daughters of '98. His father and my father were veterans of the Spanish-American War.
Mm.
My father had contracted malaria over there, and in Puerto Rico, and I witnessed his having a spell of it, where you had to keep him warm and then cool him off, and then, you know, he had chills and fever. And so he belonged to the United Spanish War Veterans. It's like VFW.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so did Bill's dad. And of course, they went to their meetings. It was in the 14th Regiment Armory in Brooklyn. They would go to these meetings, and I, being the youngest in the family, they would take me with them. And I remember running around in the pillars, hiding. We were playing hide and seek. And then eventually I joined the auxiliary. My mother was treasurer of the state of New York in that auxiliary. And I joined that. You had to be 13, I think, to get in. And so I was brought up with this veterans background.
Okay.
And my, where am I now? Yeah, so I was raised in Ozone Park, and I told you that. So when the war broke out, I met Bill at one of their dances. They had the Daughters of '98 and the Sons of Spanish-American War Veterans. And as their dads got older, they would carry the flag
Okay.
for them on Memorial Day and whatnot. And it would go, it would be on Bedford Avenue, at the entrance to the Grand Army Plaza, which admits you into Prospect Park, which is the biggest park in Brooklyn. And so I met him at one of their dances, and we dated, and he would, I was working strange hours at the telephone company. They called it split time. You know, you'd work 4 hours in the morning, and then you'd be off and come back. And so this night, I would be getting off at 10 o'clock, and he came and met me, and he was in uniform. I had just met him, like, over Christmas and New Year's, and he had been drafted in the, what do they call it, the soup?
CCC? The pre-war draft?
It wasn't the CCC. That was where they went and worked. It was, I have it down here. It was a pre-draft type of thing where you served a year.
Oh, okay.
And he remembered his friend Jimmy Burke called him up. They lived in a brownstone in Brooklyn. It's now a national monument, and nobody can change that building. When the Melvins moved in there, they had a twin carriage, and there's still the outline, the cutout in the woodwork to allow the wheels of the twin carriage to go through the double doors and the lobby, and then double doors. So that is a national monument, and I mean a area monument, whatever you want to call it. And so get back to what
So you were dating, he was in uniform?
he appeared in uniform. What I was telling you about the brownstone, when he got his notice, he was painting his mother's ceiling in the living room, and they had really high ceilings. And his friend Jimmy Burke, who was in that fishbowl draft, that's what they called it,
Okay.
I think. But it was Navy, and he called Bill up and he said, "Bill, we got to go back. They're gonna come after us." And Bill said, "Well, I don't care what they do, but I'm not going to leave my mother's ceiling unpainted. That'd be worse than a firing squad." So he reported to, he came in uniform, and he reported to out on the island, on Long Island. What's the name of it?
Oh, that's fine if you can't remember.
He reported for duty there. So So uh, we were corresponding, and then he was sent to the South Pacific.
Oh, geez.
And in the meantime, they had formed the WAAC, Women's Army Auxiliary Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, having been a veteran, he said to me, Shirley, that's an auxiliary corps. It's not really the Army. If anything happens to you, you have no recourse. They'll say sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, wait, they're going to change it. He said, they'll change it. So the first thing I know, he was right. But in the interim, when we were discussing this, my father passed away in July of July 20 plus 42.
Okay.
July of 42, he passed away. So I did what he told me, and I waited, and I was surprised that my mother would let me go.
Right.
But Mama was very interested in the monetary part of it. You know, she would get $50 a month, and she would be sure of that. She didn't have to give me a call. See, we turned in our money. We didn't pay board, as most people did. And Mama would be getting the $50 a month, plus, I don't know whether she or I arranged this, but there was an extra $10 from my pay sent to her every month. So I think it looked very green to my mama. And she was having trouble with my older brothers and sisters. And I think I was supposed to mend all that, you know. And she went to, so I enlisted, and I was sent to Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, for training. Fort Oglethorpe was an old cavalry base, and a friend of my father's, who was also a Spanish American, would come and see him pretty regularly. And because my father couldn't drive anymore. So he would mail things to me. How did he do it? He would just put my serial number and address it to Fort Oglethorpe. Believe it or not, I got it with just the serial number. And so then we were being trained for the tower. And all of a sudden they needed cryptographers in Presque Isle, Maine.
Now what's a cryptographer?
Cryptography is receiving encoded items, then you decoded it and you re-encoded it and sent it on.
Okay.
And so...
Did that require any sort of top secret clearance or anything like that?
It was top secret.
Okay.
And we had a revolver on a shelf. You know, you just had this little window like the old bank windows.
Right, yeah.
And this colonel came along when I was on duty one day, and he said, I'll open the door. I said, I'm sorry, sir, you have to have the password. And he said, I don't need a password. Well, I said, I'm sorry, sir, that's my orders. And he stopped off. So we came to the conclusion, we never heard anything about it. We thought it was a ruse.
Right.
That they were testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, gee, I never used a revolver. I wouldn't know how to shoot the guy. So anyway,
Let me interrupt you real quick, Shirley. How was that change from civilian life to military life for you? Was it much of a change, and particularly because from many people in your generations, you didn't really travel a lot away from you were around home your whole
no,
life. How was that going now down to a completely different environment? Was there any homesickness or anything like that?
I wasn't homesick. We were sent, we reported for duty at 39 Whitehall Street. It's downtown Manhattan.
Now, did you enlist by yourself or with friends?
By myself.
Okay, okay.
There was a girl on the next block who was going to go in the Navy. She was a bit older than I was. And and I wasn't close to her.
Okay, okay.
So she and I, as far as I knew, were the only ones. And I met this girl, we'll call her June, in when we were mingling to be shipped to Fort Oglethorpe, and she came from Manhattan. No, she came from Brooklyn. So we get on the train to Georgia. Of course, my mother insisted that I take my brand new boots because she said they won't issue you anything until. So I was glad I had those white boots because the red Georgia mud destroyed them, and we were on catwalks to the latrine and to the showers and whatnot. So I had the lower bunk and June had the upper bunk, and all of a sudden she was coming back about 11 o'clock at night, and I would have to help her into bed, into the upper bunk. And this one day, see, I knew nothing about sex in any way, manner, or form.
Oh, sure.
I was completely innocent. So we had to fall out in the morning for exercise before we went to breakfast. And this one morning, June didn't show up. And she had been going to the NCO club every night, and she was a little too much beer, and I would have to help her into bed. But dopey me, I figured that's a shame, you know, she's going to ruin her life. So we fall out for exercise, and there's no June. She didn't show up. So, oh no, we didn't fall out. I went into the latrine thinking she might be there.
All right.
Because we were going to fall out. And she wasn't. And a couple of girls came in, and I said, June June isn't around. I said, I don't know what's wrong. I said, I don't know whether to answer for her or not. And they looked at each other and laughed. And they said, June and her friend Marion, you can substitute names if you want. Marion were found together in the shower.
Oh, gee.
And I thought, see, my vision of it was two separate showers. They were taking showers. So they all laughed at me. You know, they had a lot of fun with me. And I still didn't know what they were talking about.
Okay.
So anyway, I never heard any more about them. You know, they were history. We went to Presque Isle, Maine, and the...
Now, did you volunteer for that position up in Maine, or were you just told we need people, you're going to Maine?
We were ordered to go to Maine.
Okay.
And it's, the main street is probably twice as long as this room.
Okay.
And I met a woman about 5 years ago, a younger woman, and she said something about Presque Isle. I said, I was in Presque Isle. I said, did it grow any? She said, it's the same. She said, it's just the one block. And so that's where we learned cryptography. And then we were there, I don't know how long we were there, about 9 months or so. And they sent us to they I hope I got this right. I should have had that paper in front of me. I'm sorry, am I ruining
No,
this?
no, not at all.
Can you cut this out?
I can try, yeah.
And,
Okay.
we went by train from Presque Isle, Maine to Miami
Oh, wow.
in a plane. We went by train. By train, and the gal who was in charge was very upset with me because there was a fellow in that train with us.
Compartment?
And I said, I'm not gonna, if he's sleeping here, I'm not sleeping. He was in full uniform. And so he left that car out of consideration for me. And I look back on it. So anyway, we landed in
Miami?
we landed in Miami, where they flew us to Bermuda.
Wow. Now, had you ever flown before, prior to that?
No,
So that was your first plane ride?
first plane ride. And we were seated in the big cargo plane,
Uh-huh.
where the seats were along the walls.
Okay, uh-huh.
You know, so it was a different experience.
Yeah.
So when we landed in Bermuda, we were housed in stables.
Really?
They were stables, and we were put in there, and we were close to the runway, and every time a plane took off or landed, we'd duck under the bed. We had no experience with this whatsoever. And we'd get under the bed. And they had what they called a consolidated mess, which meant that men and women ate together, family style. And so at first, the men were very upset about having women sit at their table.
So you were the first wave of women to come over then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this, my friend Jenny and I, we would go over to a table and ask permission to sit. We didn't just sit down, we asked permission to sit. So reluctantly, for a couple of days, they let us sit. So then we came down another day and for breakfast, and these men stood up to allow us to sit down. And we looked at each other, and they said, this one man, spokesman for them, he said, you know, we're very glad you girls are here. And I said, what changed your mind? He said, before you came, these guys came like pigs. They were unshaven. they hadn't bathed or anything. He said now they dress up and they look neat and clean. So he said, if it's only for that, welcome, girls, you can sit with us anytime. So that was funny. And so we landed in Bermuda, and we were also in converted stables, but they were indoors, and one area went out where the stables were, and the other was these big high, like brownstones, steps, and that's where we hung out our laundry and all that jazz.
Were you comfortable there? Was it comfortable conditions, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It was, and we had individual beds. We didn't have bunk beds.
Okay.
And of course you had to make them up so the proverbial quarter would bounce. And so we liked Bermuda very much, and the water there is very warm, but it's phosphorescent, and you can see the bones in your hands.
Is that right?
But you had to be very careful because it was quite, I don't know if you'd call it an undertow. You had to be careful. And, but you could see your bones. And we liked that. And there were other areas in Bermuda that you could go to by their bus. The islands had buses. And this, one time Jenny and I went from Hamilton we went from St. George to Hamilton. That's an island, yeah, it's a series of islands. And we went to a movie there, and it got out too late for us to catch the bus. So Jenny said, you know, Bill Hawks took a Jeep today. And she said, I'll bet he's still here. So we went looking, and we found Bill. He was half crocked. And he had a load of people in his Jeep. And we said, Bill, we have no way to get back. So he said, okay, hop in. And you know the mirrors and lights that are on the road. It's a drop, you know, of God knows how deep. It was all cliffs, and he hit every mirror. We were saying our prayers. We didn't know if we were going to get back. And he said, well, we'll know better next time, because there must have been a dozen people in that Jeep.
Oh, boy.
So we got back to St. George, and it was really nice there. We really more or less, see, you couldn't get any Jeep out of that Jenny could drive, because she came from Wyoming. And never in my wildest dream did I ever think of going to Wyoming. You know, that was a foreign country.
For sure.
And so you had to have written order to get a Jeep. You couldn't just get a Jeep.
And as women, you didn't dare hitchhike. I mean, that wasn't allowed for women back then.
Oh, no.
Right.
No. And the Bermuda buses didn't go, how did they get from island to island? But anyway, they only ran at certain times. And so we were, I would say we were happy there. They have these big lily fields. I have pictures of us in the lily fields. And they also grew onions and all kinds of stuff. But they treated us very well. The Bermudians treated us very well. So it was the hub for communication. Everything came through Bermuda.
So you were there doing your same position again, same
Yeah.
job? Okay.
Encoding and
Mm-hmm.
decoding.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they everything went through Bermuda. We would decode it, re-encode it in another code, and send it off to wherever the destination was. Now, they would try desperately to break our code,
Right.
you know, and that's where those Navajo came in. The Navajo
Oh.
Indians.
Uh-huh.
We never met any, but they were in other stations, and they would. Uh, they Everything was top secret.
Sure.
You didn't even discuss it socially. You know, you didn't. And so uh, we were there almost a year, and the war ended in Europe. Eisenhower was coming back to the U.S.
Do you remember where you were when you heard about VE Day?
Uh, I guess I was in the code room because I got the message that he was going to go home. See, the war had ended in Europe, so he was going to go home. And the message came to me, his speech when he reached home.
Really? Oh,
So
wow.
I decoded it, and read it, and re-encoded it, and I thought, gee whiz, I know, they don't know what he's going to say.
Wow.
What I do.
Yeah.
So I sent it on to Washington. And so then they didn't know what to do with us after that, after the war in Europe. So they decided to, you could either, see, by this time I was in a full 2 years, and we could re-enlist or go home. And I thought, oh, I think I'd like to go home, and because I don't know where they'd send me,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was quite thrilled at the fact that I knew what Eisenhower was going to say before anybody else. And I went, as I said, I had been working for the telephone company. In between the jobs before the war, I worked for E.A. Lundy. It was a he was an engineer, a certain kind of engineer.
Uh-huh.
And he was putting in, the first air conditioning was going in the railroads. And before I had enlisted, I worked with him and his secretary, and I had decided, I went back I went back to the bank, Chase National.
After you got out of the service. Uh-huh.
Just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
I thought, I wonder what, they hired me immediately. In the meantime, Bill and I had gotten married, and after the war.
Well, let's back up then.
Okay.
Ask you some questions about that.
Sure.
You're on the East Coast or in Bermuda. Bill's over in the South Pacific. Were you able to keep in touch fairly regularly? How was?
Yes, we kept in touch, and one day, after a tough day at KP, I got a letter from him, and he said, a contingent of ugly whacks arrived today. Really ugly gals, he said. And here I am, exhausted from KP, And we took our turns at KP, like, and I got stuck with the emptying the grease traps
Oh boy.
because the others would get sick to their stomach. So I would kneel down there with the ladle, and I'd take a deep breath and scoop it out, and, you know. And so I get this letter. These ugly whacks arrived in Australia. And do you want to know anything about Bill's service?
Yeah, a little bit. So he was in Australia. He was out of harm's way. Was he ever in?
Oh yes, he was in harm's way.
Well, how?
He was. He didn't have an engineering degree. He did get one later on. Well, he did have a degree, but it wasn't a college degree
Okay.
in engineering.
Right.
And his contingent set up laundries
Okay.
and things like that.
Mhm.
That the necessities.
Right. Yeah.
They would go ahead and set it up.
Gotcha.
So this, they were in a bar in Australia on R&R,
Uh-huh.
and his buddy got in a tussle with an Australian, and the guy broke a bottle and shoved it in his face.
Oh boy.
And of course he was bleeding, and the shore patrol came right in and took them and put the two of them in the brig. So the colonel comes the next morning and he said, "What are you doing here, Melvin?" He said, "I want this." Well, what had happened was the doctor was stitching. The reason he was in the brig, the doctor was stitching his face. And Bill said, "You're taking 2 big stitches." He said, "That's too big. You're going to scar him for life." And the doctor had him put in the brig.
Oh boy.
So he told me that later on he found out the guy did have to have plastic surgery because the stitches were too far apart. And, so the colonel said, "What are you doing there?" And he said, "I was just trying to help." So he said, "Release this man." And so anyway.
Shirley, one question I've got, with you, like I said, in Bermuda, him in the over in the South Pacific, I'm sure oftentimes he couldn't tell you where he was at, and with the gap between letters, did you worry about his safety or worry about him at all?
I was concerned, but I didn't know him that well.
Oh, okay.
We hadn't even, we were just holding hands.
Okay.
Okay. And he was very fussy about certain things. And what was I trying to associate that with?
So
Go ahead.
from Bermuda, then you had decided to get out of the service and then went back
I
home?
had the opportunity to, you could either re-enlist or they would reassign you.
Right.
Jenny decided, she was my best friend,
Uh-huh.
and Ruby. Ruby didn't re-enlist, but Jenny did, and they sent her mid-United States someplace, and I decided to go home. So it was Christmas, and the weather was very bad. It was very bad, and it was raining and it was terrible. And I was supposed to report to Fort Dix, New Jersey. So I waited at operations, and nobody would take me. They said it was too chancy. The weather was too bad. So this pilot came, I used to hang out in operations in case somebody came in.
So you were still in Bermuda?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this pilot came in, and uh, the fellow I was dating was on duty, and he called me in the barracks, and he said, you know, there's a pilot here who is taking, um, uh, he's teaching navigators. Maybe he'll take you. So I hurried over there, and he said, I'll take you. I'll take you to Wilmington, Delaware. But he said, I'm training navigators. And he said, do you want to take the chance? Because the weather was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, if he's got a dozen guys here training, he's not going to go, and, you know, it's not going to bother him. So I said, I'd like to go. So I had everything ready. I had my barracks bag and everything. So I got on the plane, and I looked around, and all these guys are at desks with this material, you know. And he said to me, don't talk to them. I want no conversation. He said, how about going up into the nose? You can take a nap. So I slept in the nose of B-17.
Oh, wow.
From Bermuda to Delaware. And then at Wilmington, I had to wait for an Army ambulance that was going to Fort Dix. And I hitched a ride on the Army ambulance to Fort Dix. Fort Dix was terrible. It was filthy. And, you know, we had to shovel our way out in Presque Isle, you know, out the door. But this was worse. There were the coal and everything that you fed was outside the barracks, and it was terrible. It was. I remember I had my physical there too, and this crabby nurse said, I think they punctured me 10 times, and she said, your arm is too fat. My arm was less than this, you know. Your arm is too fat. So finally I was released, and I got an Army vehicle that took me to New York, and then I came home on the subway. So in the meantime, my mother had moved to another place called Hollis, and so I went back to the just for the heck of it, I went to the bank.
Right, yeah.
And they hired me right away.
And you took that job?
I took that job.
Okay.
And I wanted to look around and see what.
Yeah.
So when I had worked for Lundy, he put the first air conditioning in the trains. The trains had air conditioning. Outside of Tiffany's in Manhattan, the jewelers were the first to get air conditioning, and then the railroads, and Lundy had to do with that. So they asked me if I'd come back, and I said no. I said I want to see what happens here with Chase. So I was there about a year. We got married.
So in the meantime, then Bill came back from the war, and
Bill came back.
And you guys started to seriously date then?
Started to date again. And Oh, I became pregnant. It took me over a year. And uh, Chase, I knew, would fire me. See, Chase wouldn't accept anybody. If you got sick or you were pregnant, you had to leave. So, coincidentally, this Marie from E.A. Lundy's office, the air conditioning
Mm-hmm.
thing, she called me up and she said, Shirley, I need somebody desperately. Would you come and work here? I said, well, Marie, I can't stay long because I'm expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can go for a while because the phone company,
The bank.
bank won't keep me. So she said, oh, good. So I worked at Lundy's until Helen was born. And in the meantime, Bill, we were living in my mother's house. She had a finished basement, so we were living downstairs in the finished basement. But Mama was really crabby and very demanding and whatnot. And after the baby came, Bill said to me, I think we should get our own place. So he had come home on a ship from the South Pacific. And when they got off the ship, there was a Red Cross girl with donuts and coffee. What they would have liked was a baked potato and a glass of milk, because
Mm-hmm.
they hadn't had
Right,
anything
right.
like that. So his buddy, you know how they found it hard to part, his buddy asked for a second donut. And the young lady said, I'll have to charge you 10 cents. And Bill, who was not a belligerent guy, he leaned over to her and he said, young lady, we have been in mud and grime and all kinds of things for 3.5 years. You're going to give him that donut and you're not going to charge him 10 cents. And he was not a belligerent guy, you know. So she cowered and she gave him the donut. So he said, you know, it was strange, Shirley. You've been with these guys so long, and now you have to part at this donut stand. And he said it was just so sad, you know. So, but, and my mother was very upset because I didn't become pregnant right away. And Bill went, Bill decided that he needed a little tutoring in electricity. He thought he had forgotten a lot. So he went to, they had an outfit in New York called Delahanty's. They did specialty school
Oh, okay.
stuff. So he went to the course. It was on a Friday night. And I don't know, my mother was a very unhappy woman. I came upstairs to sit and watch television with her, thinking I'd keep her company. And I was putting nail polish on my nails and whatnot. And she turned to me and she said, I'd hate to think I had to ask for it. I assumed she meant I was dressing up just to entice Bill. And so I got up and I went downstairs, you know. And Bill says, we have to leave, Shirley. We can't stay here.
Yeah.
So after the baby was born, we looked for our own place, and she came with us.
She came with you?
We had a tough time with And so uh, so we had a good life together.
And you said altogether you had 6 children? 7?
7. We lost a little fella at 17 months. He died in my arms.
Oh boy.
It was terrible.
Oh.
But,
And after your first Ellen was born, you stayed home and was
yeah.
raised the family.
Yeah.
Did you ever go back to work after the kids got out, or was?
Well, when the kids were in elementary school, Bill was very good with high pressure boilers and all, so he went back to work for the Board of Ed as a custodian engineer.
Okay.
And he was refreshing his electricity thing at this course. And after the 3rd week, the guy in charge said, "You know, you don't need this course." He said, "We'd like you to teach it."
Really?
And he told me, see, what was happening was they were reading from the log, you know, that you do this and you do that. And he would say to them, "Yes, but in certain circumstance, you can't do that." So that he was better than the teacher.
Wow.
So they offered him a job, but he didn't take it. But I remember one time he was having trouble. He had just transferred to this high school, and they were having trouble. The ladies in the office were saying, "Oh, Bill Melvin's here. We're not gonna have to wear suits anymore." So he couldn't figure out what it was until what he did was he sat in a chair in the basement and just listened. And after 2 days, he said, "I know what it is." So he called up the Board of Ed. When it's a major job like that, they send a crew, you know. And he said, "I know what's wrong with it." And sure enough, they fixed it. And the ladies in the office didn't have to wear suits. So, when our youngest was about 5, I would work for him part-time.
Okay.
Just do payroll and stuff like that. So, but we had a good life together.
Yeah. And you spent, the kids all grew up in New York, or what brought you out here to Colorado?
When Bill passed away, before he passed away, he became very ill, and he had one of the first pacemakers. And Ellen was in college. She was going for medical school, and we decided, trying to think of how that worked out. Our neighborhood was changing.
Oh, okay.
Very badly, and we decided to move. And all the kids, the youngest was in high school, and she didn't want to move, so Ellen took her in with her in Manhattan, and we moved to upstate New York, little ways upstate, and that's where he passed away.
Oh, okay.
So after he passed away, I moved. I stayed. I was commuting to Manhattan, and it was a real drag, you know. So I decided. Another custodian took me in Queens. He said, I can employ you here. So I went there, and for the first time in my life, I lived in an apartment. And, so, yeah, that was,
How many years were you and Bill married?
21 years.
Mm.
Wait, no, we were married